We're going to get started. You guys can excuse my voice. I'm not sick, but I've got a frog in my throat. I've been eating garlic and honey, so don't get too close to me. So. All right, well, we're going to get started with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we say a prayer, and I got a few announcements, and I'm excited to jump over into what they're going to be talking about, property tax. So let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, born and unborn.
All right, who wants to say a prayer? Like, can somebody want to offer to pray? Sir, please.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for such a special night where we talk about some really special topics, things that we really need to be concerned about and take action on. But I pray that you lift up our spirits to listen in and to get involved, because this affects every one of us in the room, and our families, and our posterity. Lord, bring back this nation. Let's start at the county level and move up to the state and then the nation to become what was established early, that we are under you, Heavenly Father. Encourage us in this meeting. Bless the speakers here tonight. They got some great information for us. Pray that we'll learn much and look for ways to encourage each other to carry this banner and do something with it. Thank you in the name of Jesus.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes. Let's all be encouraged to carry this banner after tonight, because the responsibility of what you're going to hear tonight is on each one of you to then carry that and share it with others. That's the power of the people. All right, 1 second. I'm going to share the live that Christine is. Christine's streaming live on Facebook, Mr. Massey, and they're going to be streaming it on Ohio Political News, a Rumble channel. So if anybody would like to go to Rumble, Ohio Political News, and share it, or send it to one of your friends.
Just an update. We're having trouble in this room.
Okay.
To get a signal, but I will record it, and we'll be able to publish it on.
Okay. Do you need the internet connection, or?
No.
That's not it. Okay. All right, so it'll be live. Christine is live on her profile, so you guys can watch it or share it there. I'm going to share it there right now. 1 second. All right, a couple quick announcements. Again, my name is Jason. We meet the first and the third Thursday of every month. If there's any new people here, thank you for coming out. This is just kind of a little. We're not just a political group, we're like a little family group. So I love coming here and connecting, seeing everybody, and hopefully encouraging people to go out and spread the word about all these things that are so important. The property tax, which, if you really think about it, property tax is so un-American that they tax you on your property after you've paid tax when you bought it. In titles, it's just, there's no end to it. So the last meeting, we have Melissa here. She talked about emergency preparedness. I don't know if most of you guys got an email from her. I know you never got the email? Okay. She had dates that changed on some of the events, and she said she was waiting until she got a final date, but she is going to be going back over, and I'll make sure she was going to put a special message behind a couple people's emails and make sure you guys were able to connect with her. But again, if you saw them live the last 2 weeks ago, most of this is not a Facebook group that you can become a part of. These, you have to join the emergency preparedness groups, and then they allow you into the group. So That way not everybody knows how many guns you got and what you're doing and all the emergency preparedness things. That's not all out in the open. But I'm going to talk to her and make sure that we've gotten back to everybody. Our next meeting, Thursday, March 6th, Christine, thank you for printing these out. This makes it nice to have something in your hand. Jeffrey Rapp, Reclaiming Your Health Sovereignty. I think most of you have one of these, but for the people online, Jeffrey's been here before. He is an author. I'm just going to read this. An Ohio certified volunteer naturalist and a certified native plant specialist. Mr. Rapp is the founder of Fantastic Foragers, an organization dedicated to learning and teaching about how to use plants for food and medicine. He regularly shares his knowledge and love of nature to groups throughout Ohio. He develops and sells natural herbal products. He leads group nature walks to identify Ohio plants. So I think it'd be awesome if we did this summer. I know we talked about it last time we was here about doing it on a Saturday, and our group would go join him on one of these walks. They go walk the trails and he shows you plants and just real practical stuff. So, and I just want to reiterate, me personally and this group want to begin to steer the vision and what we talk about towards emergency preparedness, towards naturalist, that type of lifestyle. You know, everything looks great with Trump and we have the House and the Senate, but don't let your guard down. I think it's always wise to be prepared. And a lot of people are going back to this lifestyle, right, where they're having gardens and they're concerned about what we're eating. And now we have Kennedy in there, the new HHS secretary, which is really amazing. Mm-hmm. If you really think about what we've been fighting in this epidemic, health epidemic, and then we have Bobby that was confirmed. But it just speaks to the lifestyles that a lot of people are making their shifts, right? They want to grow their food again. And we'd like to steer the little influence that we have, we'd like to use it to help steer you back that way. I know I'm really hoping to have a property in the next year and grow plants and have animals. And I want to butcher my own stuff. And it's the lifestyle, man. It's different. And then the March 20th, the last Thursday in March, Russ and Tracy, our own Russ and Tracy, are sitting right over there. They're going to share their experience with homesteading and gardening and all the stuff. They live on a piece of, how much, you guys have property?
27 acres.
27 acres. So for the live streamers, Russ and Tracy come regularly. They drive over an hour to get here. And I just told them I'm so honored that they would drive that far for our little group. It really means a lot. Thank you guys. It really speaks to their heart. And but they're going to be sharing their experience March 20th. So those are the next two meetings. And the only other thing that I was going to mention was just, I want to just touch on the Trump celebration party that I have talked about numerous times. I brought up, we should celebrate what's happening. Okay, the House, the Senate, Bobby Kennedy. How about the confirmation today?
Woo!
Cash, come on!
Cash! Woo!
Yes. I mean, for you, real quick, what's the biggest confirmation Trump's got? So it should be shouted out. What do you think's the biggest one? Kennedy? That's what I think personally is cash, because if you don't start locking them up and bringing some accountability, then nothing matters. Yeah. Because you can take Doge and expose all the stuff. You can throw the Epstein list. You can put out the Diddy files. You can publicize the JFK files. You can lay it all out on the line. But if nobody goes to jail, and then there's no accountability. And that's the number one thing that I started recognizing when I got involved in politics, is there's no accountability. No one has the cojones to call them out, hold their feet to the fire, hold them accountable, vote them out. We get swayed by their smooth words and by whatever the masses are saying. No, we have to hold the line on this, and we want to see accountability and push our reps, push cash to bring some accountability. So, but to that, the celebration we were talking about having was April 26th. I spoke to Vivek Ramaswamy's team, to his campaign manager, about being the speaker, and he said that they want to commit to established events. He said they're going to, definitely going to run for governor. They want to have some established events. So I said, well, hey, Wayne County is where I'm from, and our central committee is trying to get you to come to our Lincoln Day dinner. I said, why don't you go respond to the chair that's been, and so 2 days later I got a message from the chair of the Wayne County Party, and he said, hey, thank you, Vivek's coming to our Lincoln Day dinner. So I feel pretty good about that, and it gives me a little bit of credibility in the central committee, because it's all about who you know and how much people respect you if you want to make a difference. And so April 26th in Worcester at the Greystone Event Center. If anyone would like to come, you guys are going to be able to go on WayneCountyRepublicanParty.com on their Facebook page and buy tickets. That's going to be, the tickets will be up sometime in the next week. My business, Clearview Windows, is going to sponsor a table of 8, so I'm going to have 8 seats available. And how generous I feel, I might just give 8 seats to, but I will buy one table. It has 8 chairs, and my business will sponsor a table. So if anybody wants to go, please talk to me. Vivek will be the speaker April 26th.
Jason, you don't have a date for the victory party though, right?
So the victory party, because of that, the victory party is getting pushed out, and
okay.
I'm going to be totally honest. I got really excited about it. I talked a big game. I brought it up to my central committee, and I really looked under the hood, I would say, of what it takes to plan something like this. An event center, a DJ, a food catering service, somebody that can run video up on the screen. We want to play video clips of Trump, and think about what Trump announcing in 2015. I'm running for president all the way to him being reelected. There's a lot of really good stuff, and I want that stuff playing on a screen. So if you plan an event like that, I realize, I'll admit, it's a little bigger of an undertaking than I had initially thought. And so I'm not going to say definitively we're going to do it, because if I do feel like we need a speaker of some caliber. And I don't know how I feel about trying to get Vivek to come back to this area when he was just in Wayne County on April 26th. And I know he's also going to be in Tuscarawas County in Joanne. Do you remember the date? March 22nd is the Lincoln Day dinner in Tuscarawas County, and they believe Vivek's going to be there as well. And I was just invited today to I don't know if it's private, but to a special party where Vivek's going to make the big announcement in Strongsville next Tuesday. So we know what it is. The announcement is going to be his run for governor. And I know dang well I'm going to back him all the way, 100%. Do you have something you want to say, Joanne? Kent State Arts Center. Speaker, okay? Okay. Okay. So to Kent, where's it at again? Kent State University. Tuscarawas branch. Okay. Just to see Vivek speak, it's $10. Guys, Vivek is going to be all over the state, and the reason I want to just end with this is that I believe that the Swamp, Mike DeWine, will put one of their boys in the game before it's all said and done. And I know it's easy to think Vivek's going to run away with it, but once you get the big money and the big dogs and the Swamp behind somebody, and they will go after Vivek, they will lay out every dollar he ever made and spent, and somebody will come out with an accusation. And so my goal and vision with with our group is to, if we have a third candidate that comes out, I'm going to personally sit down with that third candidate and ask him to please step out. You know, the Joe Blystone and the Jim Renacci race against Mike DeWine, that's why we lost. If I could do it over again, I would sit down and do everything in my power to get one of them to quit. I mean, obviously I probably couldn't, but that is what I felt like I didn't do. And that's why Mike DeWine is still our governor. We cannot have some overzealous farmer try to run for governor in 2026. I'm going to back Vivek. And I'll say this, I am not totally comfortable with him. Fully how he made his money. I'm not saying he's the greatest moral being, but I'm saying he's anti-swamp. He's anti-establishment. He's also talking about, I'm sure Mr. Massey will talk about this, but Vivek is talking about about tax, removing Ohio tax. There is a campaign right now of talking about taxes and how abolishing taxes. The Federal Reserve, the state taxes. There's already states that don't have state taxes. Property taxes is the one that we can hit very directly and have the most success when you go after one issue like that. So carry the torch, guys. If you're online, share it. When they come to speak about this, let's help the movement, share the live, and let's carry the torch to abolish property tax. It's unconstitutional, and it's dang sure not American. All right, come on up, guys. That's all I got. Give them a hand, guys. Appreciate you guys coming out. And, we'll give you, she got the live, she can move it. We'll go right here.
Can you hear me without this mic?
The live can be a little bit hard.
Okay, I got you.
If
I
you
would probably
can, the
use it.
live is what makes it the most difficult.
That's fine. All right. Can you hear me now?
Now go a little bit from the. All right, check it. Mic check.
What about now? What about
Mic
now?
check. Mic check.
Did I turn it off?
Mic check.
Hang on.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
What about now? There you go.
Oh,
All right.
yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right, I know you can hear me now. Okay, first of all, thanks for having me out. Brian and I have been on the road with this road show. Basically, what is at this point right now, we have to do a lot of education because as I was talking to some of the people that were here earlier, the problem is the abnormal has become normal, and we don't know what normal should look like. And that's something that I want to bring in from a biblical perspective. Again, my name is Leonard Gilbert. I've been a Christian now for 34 years. And what I have found is that when I do not follow what God has ordered in His Word, things just don't go well. Whether it be economics, taxation, the whole thing. So I had to start taking a deeper dive into Scripture to see exactly what was exposed and why I was not living according to the biblical principles that He had laid out for us. So I want to take us through that journey. I'm going to go rather quickly because I know our brother Massey has a lot of practical data that he wants to share also. But right now I'm just at a high level trying to get people to understand the task that we have before us.
Forgot one announcement, sorry. Hey, we have a guy from Turning Point, Brandon's here. I'm going to pass this around. This is the guy that's getting involved. If you want to put his email on here and connect with him, I'm going to pass this around, no obligation to, but Brandon from Turning Point's going to have it.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to move on a little bit further here. Just so I told you, like I said, I was born in Atlanta, Georgia, so if you hear me say yes sir, yes ma'am, and stuff like that, it's just nature.
I love it.
I tried, and I even, my wife was, she passed away 6 years ago, but I was calling her Mrs. Gilbert in church, so it's just the way it is. Again, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been in the same church for at least over 33 years now, and sitting in the same pew, same elders. And just as good, I'm a real person. So if you need to find me, all you gotta do is call the elders, and they'll tell you everything about me. I just retired about a year ago, 2 years ago, and I had no idea this was going to go on my journey. But this property tax now is my life now, and I'm doing this not for me. I'm doing it for the next generation because the mess we're leaving for these children is just unthinkable because it is a quagmire. Let me go a little further here. This is courtesy of Brian Massey. He put this together for me. And this gives you an idea of the reality of where we are. Everybody, when I ask the question, do you own your home? And they say, yeah, I paid my mortgage off. And then Brian always tell them, well, we have some bad news for you. Miss 3 consecutive payments on their house and then come back and tell us who really owns their home. And this is the reality in this country that we're dealing with. All right? Here's the hard reality. You spend the majority of your life in your house. All right? Now, you pay your mortgage off. You're running around thinking you own everything. Under that illusion, all of a sudden you hit some hard times because it's happening. All right? And then you find out you can't make one of your property tax payments. You go down to the auditor's office, you go to the treasurer, you tell them, oh, don't worry, we give you a payment plan. And as long as you continue paying it, we'll leave you, we can let you have your home. But when they sell it, though, they're going to want all the arrears and everything else to go along with it. So really, you're really nothing more but a serf renting from the government. That's the reality of where we are. The other reality, this thing is complicated, it's costly, and you're not going to be able to sustain it. And that's one thing we have to keep in mind, because if you cannot sustain something, at some point, there are going to be a lot of people hurt. And if we don't recognize that, to understand that we're going to have to do something about it now, we're going to have to see a whole bunch of devastation. And the biggest thing I want people to walk away with from this, from a biblical perspective, any tax that has the power to leave you homeless, that's immoral.
That's good.
That's strictly immoral, because that's your property.
Yes.
And you just lose it because you can't pay the taxes on it. There's a problem here.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to take you to Ezekiel 46:18 because I like to go to the word to explain to people what's going on. Now, in a nutshell, what he's saying is that he does not want anybody to be evicted from their property. When Moses went over to the promised land, he gave the land to him. He said, give it up. And by the way, he didn't give it to Moses. He didn't give it to a government. He gave it to the people. That was their inheritance. So he said he did this because he didn't want people to be scattered from their property. All right, so that's the basic. You take it all the way back to Genesis. God is the creator. He owns everything. The first government that was ordained by God was what? The family. Wasn't the government, wasn't the church. The first ordained government is the family. So that's the critical part of any society, is the family. I like this because this kind of gives you an idea. If you don't own the property, then guess what? You are the property. They're controlling you. See, this is in this country. We think that we don't live in a communistic environment. I'm going to show you we're there. And guess what? Not only are we there, we're promoting it. Conservatives, Republicans, it doesn't matter. That's how far off the track we've gotten. The other one, and Mr. Massey brought this to my attention, we're paying taxes on unrealized gains. They tell you what your house is worth.
That's true.
You pay for your house, you buy it, and then you pay for a certain dollar amount, you pay taxes on it. You would think you're done, right? You think you're on it. They come in reappraisal, they tell you how much your house is worth, and then you end up paying taxes on that. You never sold the house, but you continue paying taxes on it. And that's what we talk about for unrealized gains. Now let's talk about breaking God's law. Now one thing I can tell you about breaking God's law, there's consequences for sin. And you know how I know that? My grandma would always remind me when we didn't do what we were supposed to do. And so, first of all, we talk about the fifth commandment. It says, thou shalt not steal. So taking property away from the true owner, that's stealing. You can call it whatever you want to call it, but the bottom line is, it's called theft. The eighth commandment, you shouldn't bear false witness against thy neighbor. So now what you're doing, you're lying to people, giving them the impression that they own their homes and taking money for the public good. Now when we say public good, what do you guys think about? Education. Some people like parks and stuff like that. You name it, zoo, they gotta have all this stuff, libraries, you name it. So, but then have you seen the product that you're getting for your money? Okay, so they're telling you, oh, it's for the public good, okay? And then the 10th commandment, thou shalt not covet. The ability to take your property by using a system now that's going to inevitably tax you out of your home. Everything looks good because we've lived in a country where we've had a lot of freedom and we have been a money-making country. And now what's happening is, as the taxes continue to go up, my income now is fixed because I'm retired. I'm not keeping up with it. And every year it just gets worse. That divide gets worse. Also, they serve as a incentive to maintain or improve your home. What do I mean by that? I had to put a new roof on my house. It was leaking. It's called maintenance. All right? They come by my house and say, oh, man, your house looks a little different now. Yeah, I put a roof on it. Oh, that's going to take your value up. How do you know that? I haven't sold it yet, but that's what they do. All right? You got these third-party appraisals, which increases the governmental cost. Sometimes they do inspection now with a drone. They don't even come to check your house. Just fly over and say, oh, yeah, that's about, $250,000, whatever. Wow. They got the data's all subjective. They include comparable sales, market analysis, improvements, or any changes that you make. All right? Now, notice I didn't say improvement. It could just be a change. Improvement is in there, but they'll always say, well, that's an improvement. Now, I said, no, I just have to maintain my house. That's all I'm doing. Now, here's the funny part. You can go in and contest your evaluation, right? Now, then you have to prove to them that they're wrong. You see the whole thing is just all whacked out. But we just say, well, that's the way it is. Well, it shouldn't be that way. And by the way, you have to pay for your appraisal and all this other kind of stuff. I mean, it doesn't make no sense. Now, I wanted to show you this when I talk about the abnormal, and when I say it's become normal. This is what we have today. Here's the family, there's the local, there's the state, there's the federal. You see what has happened here? Remember when I said the first ordained government was the family? Look at what happened to it. Look at what's happening here. Wow. And everybody keeps looking at the federal. Wait till you see what's going on in your state. There's money going out. We can't even identify where it's going. I'm not so sure the representatives know where all the money's going.
No, they don't.
Because we're trying to get real data, so we're digging into the detail now. So I'm asking about the checkbook that we put out. Now, even the legislative aides will tell you, and the legislators will tell you, well, that checkbook doesn't tell the whole story. So now, as a citizen, I really don't know what the state's doing. I'm not so sure, again, that the representatives know what we're doing. All right? This is what it's supposed to look like. Do you know how far off the rail we are here? Wow. Aborting children way back like it's nothing. We are a deaf society like it's nothing. All right? And you pay consequences for that. Because you need a family to maintain a society. It didn't say you need a government to maintain society. You need a family to maintain society. And that's critical. Now, here's the thing that we have to deal with. With freedom comes responsibility. Now, what we've done, we have taken our personal own self-government responsibility that started in Genesis, and we keep shifting it over to the government. There's so many agencies right now, I can't even name them all. And there's another thing, talking about the federal level, we started the country, when I go back and look in history, starting from the Puritan era all the way to the Enlightenment period, there were 5 government agencies. You know how many we have now? About over 500.
Oh my goodness.
Now, I bet you can't name them. I can't. The senators can't do it. And even Trump even said, I don't even know what we have. We don't know.
So big.
But now, again, we can't control the federal, but we can do something at the local level. But we tend to get all excited about Trump's going to do this, no, folks, it doesn't work that way. We have to take control of the areas that we live in. If we don't, guess what? Somebody else is going to do it for us. Bottom line is this. The government growth has exceeded the private sector's ability to sustain. So we only have so much money. We're sucking the county the states, everybody just sucking us dry. And we're just working, just throwing money at it. Working there hard, just throwing money at it. All right? Now, this is what Grandma said. The chickens have come home to roost. Now, I got a little secret for you. I don't know if you realize this, but the United States government is broke. We don't have the money. The states are running off the budget of the federal. And then the local is trying to run off the budget of the state. Now guess what? They're breaking a very cardinal rule in economics. Number one, men have to be restrained because we're natural born sinners from the start. The biggest lie that's ever been told is that we're naturally good. No, we're naturally bad. Because no one had to teach me how to lie, cheat, and steal. I already know how to do it. So we have to be restrained. So now, tell me what country in the history of the world has printed itself into prosperity?
Wow.
Born.
I wish there was one.
All right? So this is what we're faced with, but people don't understand the reality of where we are, and it's just slowly creeping up on us. And that's why what I'm doing, because I'm not thinking about me, I'm thinking about the next generation.
Yes.
That's what it's all about. Christianity is bigger than me. My family and whatever goes on around me is bigger than me. So I have to be thinking about your children and all the other children that are out there that won't have a clue to what hit them when the bricks start to fly. Now, I want you to take a look at this because I'm going to show you where all this stuff that we're doing is anti-Christian. Now, free education for all children in public school. All right? I'm not going to tell you where this came from, but you're going to see it. And it's going to be so hilarious because we love it. Do you know that education for children is enshrined in our state constitution? Yeah. Yeah. You know where this came from? It came from common schools. And it didn't start yesterday. This slipped into the Constitution during the first Constitutional Convention. The progressives were working overtime. Even right after the Puritan era, when the Enlightenment period hit, when men started thinking they could do better than what God can do, all this stuff started to sink in there. And by the way, Karl Marx had his hands right there because he put out this little thing called a Communist Manifesto. And you'll find out all these things that are in that Communist Manifesto, we're practicing those right here in this country. And we're doing it willingly. All right? Now, abolition of property and land and application of all rents of land to public purposes. Here's where we're going here. The public education or common schools now, from its inception, was communistic because it needs ownership of your property to make it work. Wow. That's how it works. So they're going to have to take ownership of something that you own to take what you have and then call it what they say for the public good. And by the way, if you ever get a chance, take a look at your school systems around you and see how well they're performing and see if you're getting your money worth. And by the way, I don't call them an education chamber. You know what I call them? They're indoctrination chambers. Because what's happening is that same generation that's going through, like we were taught, they won't know what freedom is. So now they're abnormal. It's going to become normal. It's going to keep going. And then eventually, boom, it collapses. Catastrophic failure somewhere. Or you get a real bad spanking, as my grandma used to give them to me. And then you wake up, and sometimes it's too late. Abolition of all rights to inheritance. Now, why is inheritance important? Because if a poor person can work his way out of poverty if he owns something. So if I started up in a little modest home and I pay it off and I own it, I can transfer that to my children. They can build on it. They can transfer to their families. And the family continues to grow and expand. Notice I said the family. I didn't talk about the government. I'm talking about what the family should do. All right? Now, if you don't own it, the burden is transferred to the new owner. That's why some of the young kids are saying, you know what, I can't afford that house. This thing is $400,000. This is $500,000. The young kids now, the average age for people start getting into a home now, it's creeped up to 35, sometimes 40 years old. And it's just continuing to rise. All right? Now, it's transferred to the new owner, which right now, a lot of the younger people can't handle it because the value of your dollar is pretty much nothing. That's why I laugh when Trump said, yeah, I'm going to get rid of the penny. Well, you know what's next? The nickel, right? Because that didn't work flip either. So where does it stop? Now, what the interesting thing about that, I would hope people realize when they see they're getting rid of these coins, that should tell you that the dollar ain't worth jack.
Yeah.
But sometimes it might take you to do, maybe to go past a quarter, and then they might start to get a clue. But it's going to take a while. All right? Here is the fun part about communism. We are funding our own demise. That was the key goal of communism. We don't have to fire one bullet. All we got to do is indoctrinate them generation after generation, and before we have it, guess what? You're paying for your own demise, and they love it. Now, the nice thing about communism is this. It's anti-Christian. So you know what that means? They're going up against God. Now, I know my Savior wins all the time. But here's the deal. It doesn't mean we won't have a spanking. And I really don't like spanking. I'm getting too old for it. Because they get worse as you get older. You can start to feel it more. You know what I mean? You know how you ache when you get up and you get older? That's what happens. I don't want that anymore. So I want you to understand what we're faced with the task that we're going at. Because right now, I'm telling you, this communistic thinking is embedded in our country. And we're living it. And most people don't know it. Now let's talk about the immediate relief here. Right now, everybody is all up in arms about these property taxes. Now, what do we do first? Well, we just want to tweak it. But nobody talks about real property ownership. We've never discussed that. Never even entered our mind. And so that is where I'm telling you we are as far as education, starting there and just getting people up to the basics. And by the way, if you want to get a copy of this, I can give you these slides, no problem at all. I pass them out to everybody. I want you to have them so you can share it with other people, because that's how the gospel works too.
Yeah, I love it.
Brian and I, we've been to the House Ways and Means Committee meetings, and we've been to Property Tax Review and Reform, and we've done all this stuff. And let me tell you something, when you're down there, everybody's on the phone, and then they're looking at the clock, and you're talking, and they say, Brian's not even listening to us. Stamp you. Well, we checked out when he came in. He's good. Never hear from him again. Now, we have found one or two that would at least entertain what we're thinking, which is good, because the way the gospel works, he never works on volume. He works on the finite few that can influence the mighty many. That's how it works. That's what I love about the gospel. All these bills have been out there. I think they got about at least 40 or 50 of them out there. I don't even know HB this. But one thing that was interesting, I said, let me just try to key in on two of them just so I can get my head around it. They had one that was HB 263. 70 under 70 plan. They recently changed that to drop the age a little bit and the income, but they're just toying around with it. Nothing happened. HB 187, they got the Ohio Homeowners Relief Act. Again, weighted averages as opposed to single reevaluation. Again, we're tweaking it. Nobody's talking about it. We just want to play with it. Now I want to tell you what happened. They had a year, because they've been in existence now, I think it was a 2-year plan. And 2 years, they got all these bills. Now let me tell you what has happened. Kicking the can down the road, and the citizens going to have to keep applying pressure, all right? Now, they're 836 pages. I read about 10 pages of it. I said, really? And then it says nothing. So this is what we're paying for. And by the way, I went down to do a meeting at the Capitol, and I had invited all these representatives to come in and tell them what we were doing. And naturally, none of them showed up. and all the legislative aides were there. What was interesting was, I'm thinking, I'm a taxpayer. I probably paid 3 times, I don't know how many times for the equipment down here. They charged me for the room. I said, wait a minute. Then I said, well, can I at least get cables and stuff? Oh, that'll be an extra $100. So I have to pay to meet them. Something's not right here. You see, and this is how my naive self is thinking, this can't be happening here. No way. But it's happening right in your own backyard. All right. Here's where we're going. Everybody freaks out when we say that. Oh, what you gonna do? How we gonna pay for the schools? How we gonna do this? How we gonna do that? Well, let me tell you something. It was done before the property tax came around. How did we do it? You know why? Families were strong. There was a sense of community. And let me tell you something. I didn't come from a wealthy environment, but guess what? We cared about our neighbors. And our neighborhood was growing because the government wasn't doing it. We were doing that. So we figured out what we need to do to survive and to continue to move forward in this country, which the way it's always been. All right. Now, when I say eliminate the property tax, we know this is going to be a long haul because we got a switch we're trying to turn on. And right now it's on a dimmer and it is real dim. And every time we go to talk to people about this, what is happening is it's like starting from ground zero. Because they think in their minds they own the home. And then when you tell them what's happening, oh, we have to vote for all of these levies because my home value needs to go up. Yeah, I think you see, this is what you're dealing with. All right? And Brian will talk a little bit about these levies. Now, here's the simplicity of life. My grandma used to say, don't make this harder than what it is. I mean, if you're telling a lie, just stop. Just stop. She said, if you're digging a hole and you don't want the hole getting any deeper, just shut up. So what I'm trying to tell the legislators is, put the shovel down. Stop it. Let's get a handle on where we are. We're just running amok. We got taxes here. We got a levy. And some schools are even throwing more levies on there because they still can't get enough. And what do we turn out and do? Vote for it. Got to protect the children, right? That's okay. Indoctrination, no big deal. We got a babysitter. They'll take care of them in school. They get free lunch. They get free. So we're good. We're good. We're okay with that. All right? Now, why do we want to go to drive true ownership? Because it creates family stability, and guess what? It attracts businesses. Because when people from the outside come in and see that we have stable families and have stability in a state, they want to come to that state. So we got to make this state attractive to people who come in. That's what got me here because I was from Georgia. My dad told me when I got my engineering degree, he said, Leonard, if you want to go make money, go to Ohio. Because he said that was the manufacturing mecca of the world. Everybody was talking about Michigan in the automotive industry. Ohio was up there ranked with everything. I'm talking about automotive, aerospace, you name it. They were in all of it. I could walk down the street and find a job here with no problem at all. And now I look back and say, what did they do to this state? Just wrecked it. So, but it's not just here. States are having other problems also. The other thing is we want to promote limited government. I love to ask the representative, what is the role of government? That's when you get a blank stare. Because they have conceived in their mind what it should be, but in reality, they're nowhere near the reality of where it should be because we don't even think about families when we talk about government. We always talk about what the government needs. Well, what the government is getting money from us. All right? We also want to stimulate the economy and growth and promote generational wealth because Jesus said the poor is going to be among us. All right? So you don't just wipe them off the planet, the face of the earth. What you do, you create avenues for them so they can also build and prosper. So if God has blessed me to help others, that's what I do. Love thy neighbor, as Brian would always say, he said it's not a suggestion, it's a commandment. So because God blessed me, I want to help other people grow like I did. Because I've lived a wonderful life. And that's why I'm giving back to what I can do to help my fellow man.
Amen.
Yes.
The whole tax system. We got to reassess priorities, eliminate waste. This whole Doge, somebody told me, we need a Doge in Ohio. I said, oh, that would be great. That's one thing I do like about Vivian. Now, I got some things, that I have a little problem with. But one thing I know for sure, he's a budget honk. He started asking questions, just like we're doing. So why do you do this? Why do you do this? Well, it's always been that way. Does that make it right? But they always say, well, that's always been that way. That's what they tell us, all right? Again, we don't want any tax tied to anybody's house. End the story. You bought that house, it's yours. It's not the government that shouldn't even be having discussions about it. Don't come evaluate my house. Don't look at my house unless I give you permission to. I paid for it, end the story. Transaction done. All right? Here's another novel concept. Paying taxes for services rendered. In other words, like I'm using it. I don't have a problem with paying taxes. I want people to know that. I have a problem with paying taxes when I'm forced to pay it and I'm not getting the value for my dollar. So now, if I don't want to use the park system, you're going to make me pay for that? If they want it bad enough, guess what? It'll happen. All right? The same thing with education. We chose to homeschool our children. So I said, now wait a minute. It takes you $20,000 average to educate a child. Why is it that I can do it with $5,000? 12-year period. And by the way, folks, it does not take 12 years to educate a child.
No.
That's right.
See?
Amen.
Did you see how this thing is going? And now they want social science. They want everything in the schools now. But we're not paying attention to it because we got to vote, to get our home values up so we can continue getting that good education.
Yeah.
All right? Now, right now, let me tell you how big of a thing this is right now. I'm partnering with other states right now that have the same mission. So this thing is growing. We got Michigan, and I got a dear friend in Michigan. She called me every week and said, you know what, you better not quit. I'm going to call you every week and find out what the status is. Because she's trying to see who's going to be the first state to pull this off. So we got a little competition going on. So we got North Dakota involved, Florida. And by the way, people laugh when they say, well, Leonard, how did Florida get involved in this? Well, go and ask them about how that no income tax and all the other good stuff they say works out. It ain't working out. You know why? Because if they just move the tax somewhere else, they still get you. They didn't cut anything. Illinois just came on board, and then we got Pennsylvania in the game. Now, here's what it's going to take. This is why this is a heavy lift. This is a citizens-led constitutional amendment. If you think the legislators are going to do it, ain't going to happen.
Right.
So we have to come up with this amendment. We got to draft it. It's a two-part process. We have to get 1,000 just to get it started. We got to get it approved first from the Secretary of State and the AG. And then after that, now you start talking about on a global scale, state, now you're talking about over 500,000 signatures. Now keep in mind, remember when I talked about education level? This is a major haul. This is not a switch turner. And guess what? If it doesn't happen the first time, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to do it again. And I'll keep doing it. You know why? Because even if I don't get it done in my lifetime, if we leave the foundation there for somebody to say, hey, you know what? That guy probably wasn't smoking banana peels. He might know something. And they may pick it up and run with it. That's the way the gospel works. The gospel has two dimensions. It goes up, but it also goes out. And that's what the church is missing. The gospel goes out. All right, now, we need out-of-the-box thinkers. What do I mean by that?
Creative minority.
I'm tired of hearing this. That's the way we've always done it.
Come on.
Let's get out of the box for a moment here. We start talking about police and fire and stuff like that. Well, guess what? When you get right down to it, those are insurance policies. If you want police, you want fire, that's an insurance policy. Guess what? Bingo. Now, here's the deal. When you start talking about looking at how we manage our environment, you know why the private sector always works better than the government sector? And accountability.
Yeah.
So when we start talking about why do we have to put that public, why can't it be privatized? You can't do that. Well, I'm doing right now with a lot of my insurance. Why can't you do it? And by the way, I'm getting better results too. And I still own my stuff. All right. I want to wrap this up by telling you why this is such a monumental task. First one, we've covered it. We are an ungodly society. We don't want to admit that, but we are totally ungodly to the core. Again, one of the biggest lies that's been sold by the church is that we're naturally good. We're not. We are naturally bad. All right? And you need to be restrained. The first rule in economics. That is critical. We have no fear of God at all. I ask a representative, do you think that education is justified by the state? I wanted a personal answer. She said, personally, no, I don't think the state should be involved in education. Good answer. But, there was a but in there. Guess what the but was? It's our state constitution. See where we are now?
Change it.
All right, there you go. That's what we're saying. If you're a legislator,
Say you disagree with it.
did I turn it off again? Yeah. If you're a legislator and you disagree with something, then you have a responsibility to start changing it to help to look out for the people, not for yourself.
Right.
But unfortunately, the way we're set up, even they don't stand a chance. So let's go on. Well, again, another monumental task here. We are an uneducated society.
Yep.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Because like I said, people now are accustomed to voting for their own demise. Start getting to change that. Oh man, wait a minute. We've always done that. Even the legislators will tell you we've always done it that way. No answers, no solution. Not even think about a solution. That's where we are.
Sir, can I just say something really quick about that? What
Yeah.
you just said about an uneducated society. I just had a conversation with a guy last week, and I said what we need to do is teaching kids reading, math, and writing needs to be separate from an education. Those are two different things. Teaching them the basics and education is two entirely different things, and we get it mixed up.
Oh yeah, definitely. And one of the things that,
Wow.
see, education in the simplest term is very simple. It's the transfer of knowledge. All right? So you have to understand who your child is, know what that child needs, because they're growing and developing. All right? So that takes a relationship. Now, people are always telling me, they say, well, Leonard, they said the problem with what you're doing with homeschooling your children, they're going to be socially deprived. And I said, wait a minute. My children know how to lie, cheat, and steal just like yours. So what's the difference? They have to be taught what's right and wrong to go along with that. So if you don't do that, you're going to basically leave it up to society to basically tell you what they think should be right for your children as opposed to you doing it. Now, I'm not saying that every child that goes to public education is going to go to the devil. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that if you don't have control of it, don't be surprised when your daughter or your son comes home and says, you're not the boss of me.
Wow.
Don't be shocked. It can happen. All right? This is the other one I want to talk about. What I call an impotent church. Now, I love my church dearly. I've been in that church for 30 years. And we got the salvation piece down pat. You can bring them to Jesus. We can do that. But then I asked my pastor, what are we going to do after that?
Yeah.
And that's when, well, our role is not that role. I said, wait a minute. Everything that you do is biblically related. You can't escape it. So if we talk about abortion, we don't even want to talk about abortion anymore in the pulpit. We've kind of left that too. But we used to talk about abortion all the time. And I said, why do you talk about abortion, but we don't talk about the other stuff, like stealing? Oh, well, see, that's different. We just deal with life. Wait a minute, I'm trying to live here.
Yeah.
And if the government's stealing my money, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Should you call that out in the pulpit and let them know? See? So now, let's put it all together. Ungodly society. You got an uneducated society and a limp church because the men have been neutered.
Come on.
And you know what happens when you send your child to public education? They want to neuter the men. Oh, you know, we got to remember we're equal now. And don't forget, the boys, sometimes they don't know if they're girls or boys. So you got to take that into account. We got to get a different bathroom for them. You see where I'm going with this? This is what has happened to us. So we got a lot of work to do. Now, I want to bring mine to closure. When I started talking about the church, I want you to listen to this. The church in Laodicea. What is happening here is bad theology leads to bad lifeology. So if you coming out with bad stuff from the pulpit, and it's going out to the people in the congregation, now you're influencing all these people, and their life is going to be horrible because you're not bringing all of the gospel to them. If you're going to preach the Bible, you got to bring it all to the table. And so God controls every sphere of this universe. Economics, politics, you name it. I wouldn't want to worship a God that didn't think that way. I want my God to be on top of everything. So I know that when I do anything in my life, I'm worshiping someone that's higher than me. And what he says is, he said, I am not a God of confusion. So if you're confused, I suggest you go back and read it again. There shouldn't be any confusion. All right. I'm going to close it right here because I know Mr. Massey has some great stuff for data, just to kind of add a little realism to it. But if you want to get in touch with us, I'm going to leave some cards here. But we also started another, we got another website coming up here soon. It's called Michigan has X Michigan tax. We have X Ohio tax now. So they're trying to one-up me, and I'm trying to one-up them every time we come up with something. So, you know, I want to beat Michigan so bad, you know that, don't you?
Yeah.
I don't want them to be the ones that come and say, look at what we did, Leonard. I was like, no. I want us to be first. But we just got to get the momentum that we can do this. We can do this as citizens. We just have to realize that we have more control than what we have, what we understand. If we don't do this, it ain't going to happen. So shame on us if we get a spanking. That's all I can tell you. Now, again, I'm going to leave my card with you. We can talk about doing more meetings and having us to come back after we find out more data. Because we're digging right now, working on the amendment, getting all the inputs and outputs. In other words, here's money. Where is it going? Schools, police, fire, whatever. And we got to put that number down. We got to go to the state. What's going on? And by the way, we tried to go through that state checkbook. Ooh, it's a mess. So we got to get a handle on where the money is first. Where is it going? And you probably won't find that in legislation. You got to do it yourself. So it's a lot of work to do. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. I hope I at least gave you a clue as to where we are and why this is such a monumental task. But you're going to hear from us because I'm not going away until God calls me home. So this is my mission for life. And I want to make sure that this information gets out as much as it can, because the way it happens with groundswell, what happens is that people start talking about it. And once you get that momentum going, it'll just take off. So without further ado, I'm going to let Mr. Massey come up and do what he needs to do, and then we'll take it from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry. All right, I'll just be, it's getting late, so I'll just take 10 minutes. And if I go more than 10 minutes, get the hook and pull me off. All right? My name is Brian Massey. I established a 501c4 business called Lobbyists for Citizens. And why did I do that? As Leonard said, we operate through the biblical principles of love thy neighbor as a commandment. And we're not running for office. We're not trying to make money. We're trying to give back to the community, pure and simple. what I want to tell you is about the deceptions. Lobbyists for Citizens promotes honesty, integrity, and transparency in government. We expose the lies, deceptions, and the betrayals. I'm the most hated man in Lake County.
Wow.
You know what? I just don't care.
Wow.
I just don't care. So, what I do is take my camcorder to a lot of meetings, and I document for the citizens, this is what's going on. I'm probably not going to make you feel real good after this, but this is the reality. There's a gentleman by the name of Ron Young. He's a 30-year state rep commissioner in Lake County. On his last day in office as a commissioner, he asked me to record him. I said, I'd be glad to do that, Ron. He had a come to Jesus moment, as I call it. What he said was, the two top priorities of government is to protect itself and to grow. The top priority of any politician is to protect themselves and get reelected. No mention of looking out for what is in the best interest of their constituents or taxpayers. Now, anybody doubts that, they can find it on the website. I've got it on my website. It's on the home page. I think it's the bottom of the first page. You can see Ron Young. In talking to legislators about the property taxes, I've had legislators and county auditors tell me that if the senior cannot afford their home, they should sell their home and move into an apartment.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, if that's the mindset of a legislator, what do you think they're going to do to try to solve our problems? We've talked to some legislators and say we want to carve out for the 65-year-old. No more school taxes for, I paid in the school district I'm in, I paid over $100,000 in the 20 years I've been in the school district. With no child, I've never had anybody in the school. So I asked, isn't that enough? Do I have to keep paying more? They don't care. We had a revaluation. In Lake County 2024, we had an average of 30% increase. There are some people that had actually 40 to 50% increase, not only in their values, but in their property taxes.
That's unreal.
Here's the dirty little secret, and I use that expression because that was used by a representative that is a young representative, first-time rep, great guy, knows the property taxes, but what he said was, what people don't understand, when a taxing authority gets an increase without a vote of the taxpayers, they don't have to accept it. What that means is take a school district. There's a school district in Lake County called Willoughby East Lake. They got $8.8 million additional a year without a vote of the taxpayers. Not one consideration of giving money back to the taxpayers. I knew about this increase over a year ago. So I said to the auditor, I said, well, we've got to get out and tell the people about this. We've got to let the people know how much it's going to cost, how much each taxing district, each taxing authority is going to get. And he said, no, Brian, you can't do that. What do you mean I can't do that? Well, if you tell the people that there's going to be a big increase, there's tax levies on the ballot that they may not vote for. So I'm saying that this is all one huge deception.
Yep.
Here's another deception. When I started these talks, I used to talk about inside and outside millage, House Bill 920, 20 mil floor, and everybody's eyes would glaze over. Not even the legislators understand this. What they say, though, on the inside millage, which is unvoted millage, there won't be any more than 10 mils, which represents 1%. The problem is, outside millage that is voted on by the taxpayers for a school district, when they get to what they call the 20 mil floor, if they if they have 5 mils of inside and 15 mils of outside, the 15 mils is now treated as inside millage. That is where you get the large increase in your property values. And I say to the legislators, if it's treated like inside millage, it's inside millage. On a joint vocational school, they can collect 2 mils. Outside millage, you're voting for it. But guess what? It's not subject to House Bill 920. It's treated like inside millage. It's all one huge deception.
Most of the government is.
So we just say, who is responsible for educating a child? When we ask legislators, they really say, well, it really is the family. But it's in the Constitution, so therefore we're going to provide it. We've done an analysis of the CUP reports, for all of the local property taxes for all 600 plus school districts. It's about $12 billion. We then said, well, what if we were going to replace that property tax with the sales tax? It would be about a 4.5% additional sales tax. Some people say, we want to do that.
Tax, right? At least you can't lose.
I'm okay with anything other than a property tax. It's my house.
Right,
You shouldn't be able to
Keep
lose.
your hands off my house.
right.
So I just leave you with the thought. Leonard and I were talking about the creating this constitutional amendment. The process that we've gone through, I'm amazed that we were able even to, when this country was formed, to establish our Constitution. Because trying to get patriots together to agree on what the constitutional amendment should say, it's tough sledding. Trying to get uniformity of thought of what should be in there and what's the proper format, it's a challenge. But and then trying to find a lawyer that's a patriot that does it pro bono. I don't know if they exist. We haven't found one. Maybe there's one in the state, somewhere. But we're going to keep at it. We certainly appreciate your time. You've been very kind. We don't want to take any more of your time. But if you have any questions, we'll be glad to try to answer. Just don't trust anything that you're seeing. Really don't.
Right.
Be skeptical. Try to have proper discernment. And there, unfortunately, no one's looking out for you. That's the reality. Unfortunately, and I tell people that. And they say, well, they seemed real nice when they wanted my vote. We had Jamie Callender, we had Dan Troy, we had Jerry Serino. Up there in Lake County, Leonard and I tried to contact them. They won't meet with us.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? And then you see on their platform, we're going to reform property tax.
Yeah.
It's all lies.
Yeah.
Wow.
All lies.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
We
Brian.
got a minute for questions. You want to just hold a minute and see if anybody got any questions? Do you mind?
Sure, no
We
problem.
still got a few minutes. We'd like to be out of here by 9 o'clock, but we got a few minutes.
Okay.
Hey, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Last week I came to the conclusion that the biggest problem is the founding fathers made the mistake. They didn't really give the people power for a lot of different reasons. Have you ever considered that? They don't have the direct power we need to stop the government from becoming corrupt.
It's impossible to do.
I wrote a whole new constitution, and it may be faulty, but I wrote a whole new constitution to give the people power. And I'm not going to go into that right now, but I just wondered if you'd ever considered that.
No, I have not. I know that this representative democracy that we're talking about, that's another illusion. That's an illusion. When you think at the federal level, you talk about the Freedom Caucus, all these great conservatives, and I was a registered Republican, but talking to the auditor of Lake County, he said, "Brian, you're not a Republican." I said, "Well, what am I?" He said, "You're a populist." Because I care for the people.
Yeah,
I'm not a Republican or Democrat.
Yeah, I'm not
Right.
either.
That's good.
So what I say when I write my byline, I'm a watchman on the wall and an independent populist.
That's good.
That's good.
You know, it's like liberal and conservatism. That's a temperament.
Yes.
You know, we forget that.
Okay, Leonard and I don't even use the word conservative anymore.
Yeah, we don't even know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
Right.
You know, speaking of, you said about we do have power. We have more power than we realize. The local level right now, do you realize some of these taxing authorities, they can say, no, we're not going to do that. They can do that right now.
Yeah. If you get in government, you're saying.
Yes.
But I'm saying the individual people out here, the only power we have is voting. And when you have lies, you have a free media, or whatever they call it, an independent media that does nothing but lie. It's almost impossible to get people to vote. I'm talking more direct power.
I 100% agree with the lies, but they say that we have control over the school boards. I've been to, I don't know how many school board meetings I go to. I maybe get 3 minutes, and I've run over. They're cutting me off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to be able to call these government officials to account at any given time with 1,000 signatures. We get 1,000 signatures. We draw a 12-man jury by ballot. I mean, by luck. I mean, people put their names into it. We have to make sure that they reach a certain standard in order to be able to put their name into the box, to get drawn out just randomly, no picking. We set up, and then if the jury says the government official is guilty of corruption, they're out.
That can happen right now with even without. You can do that now.
There's actually 5 branches of government.
That's what we need. That's what we need to do. It's the
Yeah,
only way we're going to call these people to account.
we've tried to collect petitions on the signatures. Another thing that you should be aware of: there are no checks and balances in our system for looking out for the financial interests of the people. There's a group called the Budget Commission, made up of the treasurer, auditor, and the prosecutor. And what their role is to be the watchdog for all of these taxing authorities. They're a rubber stamp.
Right. Yeah.
Just a rubber stamp. So what is happening, whether we eliminate the property tax, it really, at this point in time, I'm thinking it really doesn't matter. If we move everything over to a sales tax, unless you have the constraints on the spending of the schools and all of these taxing authorities, all they're going to do is raise the property taxes.
Yeah.
Because what has happened is there are no one is looking out for the expenditures on the schools or anything. And then all you have to do, and I've been doing it in Lake County, I've been calling out all of these taxing authorities. Like Deepwood Center's got $65 million. Lake Metro Park's got $30 million. Wow. Lake Metro Park's got $400,000 additional because of the revaluation. I went to them. I said, "Do not accept that $400,000. You've already got $30 million." And they, you know what they said? "Well, we need that money to keep the parks safe and clean." So. There is a huge disconnect in the government as far as checks and balances for the people. Very important, and I'm sure it's in your county.
Everybody's incentivated just to rubber stamp it, like you said, and go along with it.
My question is just for somebody whose property taxes were just raised like 30%. In Wayne County, they went up 31%. What would you say to them if they would be like, "There's no way you're ever going to abolish property tax"? What would you say somebody could do? What would you advise them to?
As far as if the practice, well, here's what we have been told by several representatives and auditors. If they valued your property at $300,000, and you really think that property can be sold for $300,000. Case over, case closed. You've got no chance to change that. All right. Now, what they're really doing, they want you. You can't really fight it on your own. Realistically, you can't.
Right.
You must get a professional appraiser, spend $500-600, and then maybe you'll get it. And maybe they'll throw you a bone and say, "We'll reduce it $10,000," and you go home thinking that you're a winner.
You saved $500 that you paid the lawyer.
And then what happens though? They will take the appraisal that you paid for, and then they will put it in their system as the gospel, saying, "Look, we've already got this. They didn't even pay for it." What we've got in Lake County is we've got a mass appraisal system. It's all AI generated. There's nobody going out looking at the home.
Yeah. So, have you followed Alphonse Fragolio's lawsuit?
No, I haven't. I did. There wasn't a lawsuit that I was thinking of going after my property values, but
He's in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
Delaware County, and he actually sued the assessor, the clerk, everybody, the county commissioners, everybody, because they can't state the law that they can take property taxes. There is no state law. Even in Ohio, there's no state law. These counties are operating as road cartels, and they're just taking. There is no state law that they can charge you for what you own. Because you're not conducting any commerce. As long as you're not running business, commercial properties are different. And that's the biggest problem when a developer buys all this land and they want to put up houses. That developer buys that property and that is considered a commercial property because that developer is going to sell each house and collect a profit. That tag is never taken off the land. They leave it on there. That's how they screw the system.
No, I have not
Every
heard
property
that.
is considered commercial property.
I'll have to ask.
So Alphonse Fragolio, he has a lawsuit and it's sitting in federal court. It's bounced to the Supreme Court. They will not do anything. He's tried to move the court because if it gets out, it's over.
We're going to ask him. What?
Wow.
Ohio Revised Code 5709 says that you can be 5709.01 taxable property, that you can real estate tax.
What is taxable property? You have to read what taxable property is.
Well, we got enough revised code to get around it, trust me.
Yeah, it's
If you go to that, our constitution has been changed 176
yeah.
times.
But
Try to follow it, and every time you read something, there's a revised code attached
yeah,
to it.
yeah,
And
and
so,
they can't
my mind is saying, why are we even talking about our houses?
exactly.
In the story,
Yeah.
we're talking about lawsuits and different,
Yeah.
and all these
Because
people.
they can only collect tax from commerce. That is the only way government can make money is from commerce. That is in the U.S. Constitution. The only tax they can is from commerce. It's from you buying from this, buying from that, selling this and selling that. That's the only thing. For you to own property to sit there, they cannot tax you.
And that's what I'm saying.
One last thing, and no, I really hang up on this. We were talking to a representative, and we talked about eliminating the property taxes. His response was, "Well, Brian, if you're asking me to do this, really, I've only got 1 year, because the second year I'm running for office." That's that's another mentality. They're in for 2 years, but the second year they're using to get reelected so that they can only work for you in the next year. It makes no sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Don't forget, it's up to every person in here to spread this. This is a very small group, but you know somebody, and you know somebody, and we can spread the word. I think we've underestimated just how criminal this taxing system is. You guys really opened my eyes to a lot of things. I never thought about the connection of property tax to the school, and then you must fund the school because the children, you must pass the levy because the levy protects the library because you get the children. It's just a big old round and around and around, making everybody feel bad and making everybody vote. I don't vote on levies. I pretty much vote down any levy. I really do. Vote down. All right, let's close with a quick prayer. We start that way, we end that way. Thank you, Lord, for this this group. Thank you for Leonard and for Mr. Massey that they came and shared their passion. I pray that there'll be somebody on the live or somebody here that would pick up this dream, this passion, this fight, and walk next to them, walk with them, and would use their influence and be courageous to share this message. So we ask God that you just bless each one of the people that came tonight. Keep them safe, keep their families together, and help us to stay in the fight and to keep you first. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, thanks for all coming.